Welcome to Proof of PR, your passport to the world of public relations for Bitcoin and Web3. I'm your host, Kelley Weaver, CEO of Melrose PR, a leading provider of communications and PR strategy in our unique industry. Get ready for an inside look into the future of finance, technology, and entrepreneurship from those driving innovation in the space. Join us as we learn how they generate headlines, cut through the noise, and grow their brand awareness through media placements, press mentions, and thought leadership. These are the stories behind their success. This is Proof of PR. Hey everyone, today I am so excited to be joined by the one and only Dan Eskow, the founder of Up-Top Search. Welcome, Dan.
Kelley, so good to see you again. I'm happy to be here and really appreciate the opportunity to chop it up on camera. Let's do it.
I love it. You always bring the best energy. You are someone I really admire and love working with in the sector, and I'm so excited to dive in.
Oh, you stop it. You stop it. I appreciate the kind words, and feeling is definitely mutual. And yeah, let's do this.
Amazing. So when did you first discover crypto, and when did you start working in the industry? And were you already in Web3 prior to launching Up-Top?
Yeah, no, good question. I mean, I think my entry point to the space is a bit non-traditional and probably, just kind of different from a lot of other people. For me, I wasn't like reading the Bitcoin white paper in college. I wasn't like part of the Bitcoin bro community. I was kind of a hater, if I'm being completely honest with you. I'm not really like, I don't have a trader mindset, so I wasn't into it for, the asymmetric returns, but two things kind of happened at the same time, which really got me involved very quickly. Prior to getting into crypto, I was running a recruitment agency placing quant traders at high frequency trading shops. So all my candidates, just kept asking me, and we're talking early 2021, right? So middle of the last bull run. So all my candidates kept asking me, hey, like, do you know any crypto funds that are hiring? And I honestly didn't really even know that crypto funds were a thing. And I just by chance got introduced to one, to a crypto fund by one of my clients in TradFi. I had quants on hand. And ironically, at the same time, a buddy of mine who was working in the space for a while just completely randomly invited me out to a networking event. And I later found out that it was around mainnet in 2021. I remember being at this party and everyone kept talking to me like, mainnet. I'm like, dude, I have no idea what mainnet is or what you're talking about, but I was enjoying the vibes. And one thing that really resonated with me very deeply was like all the founders that I was meeting at this event, I felt like they were just doing what they did in Web 2 or TradFi, kind of remixed and updated using Web3 technology and kind of values and mindset. And that is what really hooked me in. That idea that, okay, I can take everything I don't like about recruiting in Web 2 and do it my way here with a community that's going to support and accept original ideas and doing things outside of the box, creative strategies. And for me, that was like life-changing, literally.
So it was really the people that drew you in.
By far. Absolutely.
Yeah, that resonates with me. And I feel similarly at first.
Yeah, I mean, look at you. You're doing PR in crypto. So like, there's things I'm sure that you have the freedom to do differently in this space than, you wouldn't necessarily have working for a big corporate, Web 2 PR company. So I'm sure you can relate on that.
Did you dive right into full Web3 at that moment, or did it take a little while to sort of shift the direction?
I did not dive in fully at that moment, and it was a conscious decision. There was a YouTube video that I watched around that time that like really, really inspired how I like ran the early days of my business. And the video essentially was talking about, it's like David and Goliath. How do you take over an industry? How do you defeat the big corporate recruiting monster is how I was looking at this video, right? And the advice that this guy gave was, he's like, you want to basically be ahead of the curve and pick a very small niche that you think people are going to come to eventually and dominate that really, really small niche. And then you like slowly expand out and basically force, the competitors to fight you on your home turf, right? That was the idea of it. And for me, the niche that I chose to start in was incredibly small, which is, like I alluded to earlier, quant traders for crypto hedge funds. Like that, there's not that many recruiters that specialize in quants, period. Now to do quants for crypto funds, there was nobody else doing it. So it was insane how quickly my name got around in that very, very tiny niche. And I got really, really lucky in the sense that I didn't realize this, but at that time, all the VCs were doing market making and quant trading on the side from the venture investments. So that's how I met Framework and got really deep into the space at that point. But that wasn't for at least like 6 to 9 months from starting the business,
Well, they say about luck, it's opportunity meets or preparation meets opportunity. So I feel like, yes, perhaps you were lucky, but you were also prepared to capture the opportunity and saw the benefit of laser focusing on a specific subset. And you've gotten really, really, you've dominated the DeFi sector, I would say at this point. So it's very inspiring to watch. And yeah, I mean, it's really
I
cool
was definitely prepared.
I was
definitely prepared. I was ready. And like, I'll receive that point, but I also say like, I didn't plan. I didn't know that this was going to be my tribe. You know what I mean? I didn't know. I just landed here one day and was like, wow, these people are amazing. This is the community that's going to support me. And this is where I could like really, really like grow, like kind of come into my own right here. And I firmly believe like this couldn't have happened anywhere else with any other people. And I'm so grateful to the Web3 community for accepting me and giving me the opportunity to do my thing, talk my shit a little bit, and run my shop the way I want to run it. It's been transformative, and I give all the credit to like the space that we're in,
How has the role of social media and community channels shaped the industry and how it works for you? Like, is it a key tool for you?
Yeah, you know what? It is. And glad you asked. Like, it's been a huge part of in my journey. And it's funny, like prior to, discovering how I can leverage social media to run my business, I wasn't a huge poster. Like I'm not gonna lie, like I like attention just like everyone else, right? So I did my thing a little bit on socials, but like nowhere near the volume that I'm posting at now. And like, social media is interesting in the perspective of like Web3 and crypto. Like obviously, you have your crypto native platforms that you need to be present on, like Twitter and Discord, which both were very unnatural to me at first and still are a little bit. But, the other thing that's cool about crypto social media is like, for example, LinkedIn, obviously where me as a recruiter spend most of my time, like it's very easy to be kind of polarizing on LinkedIn because it's full of so many people who don't get crypto. So if you're bringing some kind of hot take to the table that may not give you much engagement on Twitter because all the crypto natives are there, on LinkedIn, you're going to get a lot of attention because people are not used to this kind of conversation on this platform. So I'd like to think that, I'm one of the people like polarizing on LinkedIn, bringing this kind of conversation that, like I said, just wasn't really a thing on that platform for a long time. And I guess like to kind of bounce off of what I was saying earlier about the community accepting me and giving me the opportunity, I would say like probably one of the most powerful things that's come from that is that I feel safe and comfortable to be my authentic self because I know I have the support of the crypto community. So therefore, I can go on LinkedIn and maybe piss some people off by saying some controversial things. But this is my true belief. This is this is what I really feel. And that authenticity is going to resonate with the audience that I want to speak to. And it will bother people who are not on the same journey that I'm on. And I'm okay with that because I know who I'm speaking to. I know my audience, and I know that they'll support me being my authentic self. So having the ability having the confidence and comfort to share these thoughts that other people think and want to say, but aren't in the position to speak on, has helped me stand out and like I said, resonate with the people that I want it to resonate with.
That's interesting that you take sort of a contrarian approach to LinkedIn, because I would imagine as a recruiter in general, LinkedIn is like the gold mine, right? I mean, that's where all the talent lives and is looking. But it is,
but recruiters have such a bad reputation more broadly that like any chance for me to separate myself from the behavior patterns that everyone knows, traditional recruiters to have, I feel is an opportunity to separate myself from the pack and highlight what we do. And I think that people find it really interesting.
And it's interesting because you work with some incredible talent that doesn't even want to be publicly recognized, that are almost pseudo-anonymous and probably don't have LinkedIn profiles. How do you find those types of...
Yeah, well, you're right. And I remember like the first time I got a Solidity developer job being like, what do I do now? Like when I first got my Web3 client, actually, my first Web3 client, Simon, shout out to Simon from Rhea, formerly Volt. When I was working with them, Framework gave me these job descriptions and I was like, where do these people live? Where do they hang out? What do they do? I knew nothing. And I didn't get very far on LinkedIn, to say the least. So you're right. They're anons. And the way that you get to those people is ironically through content like this and through, just getting deeper in the space. What I realized is those people, you don't find them. They find you, period. You don't find them, they find you. So when I hear about other recruiters trying to, start their business again in the space, that's something you have to learn on your own. It's not that easy. And for me, strategies that I take to have them find me is content. I do my podcast, which you were gracious enough to appear on last year. I have my Discord community. I have my social presence, of course. I host events at all these conferences, which is like, that's another part of it. Just being present, like being outside, being not some dude who's hiding behind a computer on LinkedIn. That's not me. I'm the guy that you see at the events. I'm the guy who you just signed up to his link for his cigar night in Denver. I'm a real person. And that's how you find these people. You're not going to have any success in the traditional methods of, pitching and all that kind of stuff. It's not going to happen.
So you mentioned a couple of clients of yours, and I'm curious that the Framework Ventures, shout out to Framework.
Big shout out to Framework.
Rhea, Simon, are the sort of projects in this sector, those are your clients, and then you basically, and how do they find you? Like, how does that whole thing work? I know you talked about how the talent finds you.
Yeah.
Is it the same?
No, good question. Yeah. At this point, I've been here for 2.5 years and the work speaks for itself, honestly. And I'm really, really proud of the work we've done. So I have a really strict rule with my team. And we do not do any outbound BD to get new clients. I believe that the best BD is just being really good at your job and creating relationships. So the way we get new clients is, yeah, just be good.
All relationships.
Just be good at what you do, and tell them to tell a friend. That's it. But yeah, so we're lucky. I can't show enough love and gratitude for Framework for being the first VC to give me a shot and introduce me to their portfolio companies. But now we also have, can't thank Framework enough. But now we work with other VCs like we have Polychain, Block Tower, Coin Fund, and a few others, and they recommend us in their welcome package when new portfolio companies onboard. So that's a pretty nice promo. We also are like, you and me are in a lot of group chats together where people just say, hey, like, where can I find this? And then someone Well, I like to say you can't say hiring 3 times without someone telling you got to talk to up top. That's the fact.
All you have to say is hire, not even finish the word. And
someone's going to say you need to talk to
someone
Dan.
at Melrose has already recommended up top.
Facts. And I'm very grateful and I appreciate it.
No, you do a great job and you have an amazing team. What are some of the challenges that you face when working with a client?
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier today, and I think really there's really one big thing. The only challenges I have with client is when they don't have the right mindset. Well, actually, let me back up. When I first got into crypto, of course, I was like, oh, it would be so great to have Coinbase as a client or Binance or whatever. And I remember, probably no disrespect, Coinbase, Binance, whatever, but I don't work in big organizations where process is going to be, get in the way of doing good business. So anyway, I work with startups where I typically have like a direct line to the decision maker. So that's important. But I would say challenges I face with a client is when they think that hiring is a waste of their time rather than an investment of their time. So when a founder is like, hey, I don't have time to deal with this. Can you talk to the executive assistant and book interviews and we'll get back to you and we'll do that. And it's like everything that you're doing, all your behaviors are suggesting that you're doing everything you can to outsource things so you can spend the least amount of time. When I sense that, I reciprocate with spending a very little amount of time trying to help you, And so, like I said, like hiring is an investment of your time, not a waste of your time. And also like you can't like turn it into an algorithm. Like I don't like when clients are like, okay, I have these 12 boxes that need to be checked in order for me to take an intro call with the candidate. The best client relationships I have are those where there's a high level of trust between me and the founder. My time is important. Your time is important. If I'm sending you a candidate that I put my stamp on, trust me, they're worth a conversation. That's all I'm saying. And when I get that trust, it helps me become better and better at zoning in on exactly what they need. And the, time to get this deal done will just get shorter and shorter going forward.
Yeah, that makes sense because it's not something that they can just say, you go run with it. You need that relationship. I mean, the same goes for us. It's like, we need that buy-in that, we're going to work well together on an ongoing basis.
Exactly.
Can you talk about the approach to the hiring process? What does that strategy look like?
Yeah. I think, this is where I have my strongest differentiator, I would say, from other recruiting agencies. And I would say like, most companies, what they do is they're pitching individual jobs on behalf of individual clients to individual candidates, right? And what we do is quite the opposite. And I like to think about it like a sports agent, right? So the idea is, all of our clients really, hire for the same 5 to 10 categories of skill set. So instead of recruiting on an individual basis, we sign the top talent in each category and allow them to try out for the teams they want to play for, like a sports agent, right? You sign the best quarterback coming out of college and he tries out for every NFL team. That's how that works. So I think when the recruiter is more aligned with the talent rather than the client, it's much less friction in the process. It's easier to close deals when it comes down to the end because they're usually interested. And I think, it may feel, unnatural to the recruiter to not be acting as an agent on behalf of the client. But in actuality, the clients appreciate that you do a good job representing the talent in the way they want to be represented, because at the end of the day, like this has to be a mutual good fit. So yeah, if we're just kind of forcing, two people to come together for the sake of the commission, that usually ends up blowing up in your face. So anyway, that's how I think about the hiring process. And I would say the other thing to consider is like when I onboard a new client, there's literally only 2 things that matter to me besides they have money and they'll pay my fee. The 2 things that are the 2 kind of criteria that I have for evaluating a new client is like, 1, are my candidates going to be interested in this project? And number two, is this client going to provide a good interview experience for my candidates, regardless if they get hired or not? Because guess what? I'm still going to work with that candidate, guy or girl. That relationship stays with me. And so you're going to burn out my pipeline of talent if you treat them poorly, if you give them a bad experience, if you ghost them, if you have freaking 12 rounds of interviews and 3 take-home tests, the candidate's going to be like, I'm done with up top. That's how that goes. So one thing that we do is we really hold our clients accountable to that. That's important. And I personally feel like if you don't respect that, then you don't respect me, and you're not good for my business at that point. So you're actually a detriment to me.
Do you educate clients on what you expect when you embark on the relationship?
Absolutely. Always. Very much so. Very upfront. I've learned how to do that over the last couple of years, and I've learned how important it is. I've learned that lesson too many times. So yeah, it's really important to set upfront expectations, and let them know, we'll be here for you later down the line if this doesn't work out, but this is what we need to be successful at our job, and we don't fail. So we're either going to do this the right way or we're not going to do it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, we always say our business is built on, either meeting or exceeding expectations, and really that's it. So making sure going into the engagement that the expectations are realistic and attainable is sometimes half the battle, interestingly enough.
And, I'm sure you could appreciate this too. In the beginning, for anyone out there who's trying to start some kind of agency business, whether it's PR or recruiting, obviously, it's a luxury now that you and I have mature businesses where we can be selective, and I get that in the beginning, you kind of have to put up with some things that you wouldn't want to. And that's fine. There's a time and a place for that, and that's how you learn what are the really important expectations. What are the non-negotiables? You know what I mean? You have to know what are your non-negotiables. And there's always flexibility for certain situations, but yeah.
Totally. Well, you've had some sort of meteoric growth over the past few years. You mentioned you just kind of dipped your toe in Web3 in 2021, which was not honestly that long ago. How have you grown up top to be sort of a leader in the DeFi sector? How has that, what are your tips and tricks for this growth?
Well, honestly, first and foremost, have to show some respect to my team, particularly Marty, my co-founder, has been with me pretty much day one. And we have about 6 others on board with us at this point now. And, I'll say this, that every successful hire I've had has come to me. They've been inbound people that have been drawn to the Uptop business based on what they see us doing, which means they're paying attention to the space. That's point number one. They're paying attention. They notice me and they're interested in specifically what we're doing. So these people all get it from day one. I'll tell you what is a hard pass for me for the most part is people with a long history of recruiting experience. And it's not an ageist thing. It's not a senior versus junior thing. It's working. I like to work with a blank canvas. And I like to say my 2 criteria that I need for a recruiter with Uptop to be successful is, number 1, they need to be passionate about the space. And number 2, they just need to love people and love helping people. I don't need anything more than that to make you successful. But I don't have the patience to wait for someone to unlearn bad habits that they've learned in Web 2. I don't have time for it. So back to your question, huge part of there's zero chance at all that I could have this much success on my own, and much gratitude and respect to people that have helped me get there. And so I'm really, that's one of the things that I'm most proud of, is not only the people that are on my team and the work that they do, but the vibe that we have internally with each other. Genuinely feels like we're all homies outside of work. We love to hang out at the conferences. So yeah, that's something I'm super, super proud of. But But yeah, I guess like,
How big is your team now?
I think we have like 12 if we include like contractors. Like I have a legit like tech people, a designer. Like we have like behind the scenes, like we have some pretty cool like tech things that help us kind of run our business efficiently. Like the Telegram channel bots that I have like 6 different bots running right now. And they all, one thing also that was mentioned in that first video I told you about that really motivated me was as this guy grew his business, he never sacrificed speed and efficiency to his clients. And that's something I'm very, very passionate about. It's like we have like 175 clients with signed contracts, but our response time hasn't like lagged one bit. Like we're still on it, hungry, and passionate like we were in day one. And the day that I feel that slow down is the day we need to start saying no to business and servicing, smaller number of clients. Cause I need you to know how much I want to get this. I want to be here and I want to deliver for you. It's important. I need you to feel it.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and something that we get complimented on is just the pace of comms, and it is important. It's something that you kind of, we're so in the rhythm of being responsive and, being available, and just at least if we don't have an answer, letting you know that we saw the question, that, it's just second nature, but that isn't always the case. And I think it is something that can help you build trust.
Yeah. And, that's an interesting, and also just when you said build trust, it made me think about like, as, both of our businesses expand and, we need to keep up that rapid pace of communication. I can't do it all myself. You can't do it all yourself. And it's really important to trust the people on our team that are representing our brand, that, they're going to answer quickly and they're going to have the right answers and, they're going to do the right thing. And, I'm really, really lucky that like everyone who's with me, like this would never happen ever in life, but if I turned off my phone for a week, like I'm confident that they would do and say everything, up to the top standard that we have going,
Yeah. That's amazing that you've been able to sort of create that culture and dynamic where, you can, replicate what you're doing out to others and help others to grow and, learn how to be a Web3 recruiter. And I love the whole starting from a blank canvas thing. That resonates with me as well.
Yeah.
What skills and qualities are essential in your opinion for someone who wants to work in Web3 or someone working in Web3?
Got to have that dog in you, as they say. You gotta have the dog. You definitely really have to have the dog in you. You really, really do. But like, I don't know.
You don't fair weather crypto candidates. I know a lot of people who have been burned by this last cycle where they worked for a startup that, promised them a lot of things and got let go for no fault of their own. And they're a little burned out by the whole Web3 thing. What do you say to
honestly,
that? Or is that not your candidate?
No, I mean, look, that's a real thing that you just described. And no disrespect to that person or anyone who's been through that, but like that is probably a good way to filter people out who don't belong here. Because if you really believe in this, then, and if you really understand what's going on, then that's, I hate to say it, to be expected. You hope it doesn't happen to you. You hope your company, you do all your diligence and research to make sure that it's not your company who's going to, go under or make whatever mistake causes them to get let go for no reason of their own. But like, you should know the risks involved before getting into this, and if that's going to scare you away, sorry, but there are people who want to be here. And I would say like, this is the vast majority of people who face that situation. Bounce back and learn something from it and get stronger from that. And it makes their conviction higher, to be honest. So it's a good test. It's a good way to test the waters, unfortunately, for some people.
Well, since this is a PR and marketing focused podcast, I have to ask what your experience has been like working with PR firms.
Well, when I work with Melrose, it just feels like family. It just feels like I'm working with friends. No, I mean, I haven't worked with any other PR firms, but like you guys have like, what I really appreciate about working with you guys is like, when we first met, I had no experience in this. I didn't know what this engagement, like what this relationship was supposed to look like or what you needed from me. But I felt very comfortable in that you like helped me without judgment, like understand, kind of the dynamic here and how we can help each other. And I really enjoy the relationship that we built here. Not only with you, but shout out to Kelley, love Kelley, and everyone else on the team who's been super helpful. But I mean, you asked earlier, like, how did we grow this business in such a short time? PR that I've gotten through you guys has been massively helpful. I just did another interview with Blockworks. Thanks to you guys. Shout out to Blockworks. Shout out to Mariah. Appreciate you. I remember the first couple of articles I did with CoinDesk and Blockworks. It can't be overstated how impactful that was to my name getting around. And it's really dope, like to have a portfolio of content that you can share with people who maybe haven't seen it when they do research on you. Which, as a recruiter, like I alluded to earlier, like a lot of people have had bad experiences with other recruiters in the past. So before they take a call, they usually want to say, what's this guy about? And the fact that I have so many PR appearances through you guys has been a massive validator that this is someone who belongs here. This is someone who gets it. So like I said, I've enjoyed the relationship. I've seen a lot of benefits from the work that you guys have done for me and couldn't be more grateful.
That's fantastic. Love to hear it. Thank you for the shout out and for the validation. It's just nice to hear that it's actually translated into kind of credibility and measurable success. You've also had several mentions in TechCrunch, if I recall.
Yeah, and I would say not only that, it's another piece that I forgot to mention is like you've taught me how to have relationships with journalists directly and how to basically maximize the value that I get from those relationships. And, because in the beginning, I had never really dealt with journalists before. So what makes them tick? What do they like? What do they don't like? What's going to make them call me back? What's going to make them never want to talk to me again? It was really, really helpful to have you guys as a resource and learn how to navigate like those relationships. That was really important.
Well, that's fantastic. And we've really just had a light support on this engagement in the form of really, educating you on the process and letting you run with it. So you've done a great job to your credit. And one of the ways that you've reciprocated is you have this awesome podcast that I want to talk about. What was the inspiration behind that? And shout out to all of the sort of mutual clients that we've had on the show over the past year or so. It's been really fun to work with you on that.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I loved having you on. That was a great episode, a fun one. And the podcast journey has been fun. It's been great and it's been productive as well. I just had an instinct when I first started doing the quants for crypto trading, I knew I was onto something unique and interesting that no one in my world, which at this point was not yet Web3. I'm still really living in TradFi Web2 world. And I realized, wow, I'm exposed to all this cool stuff that like I've never heard of. I don't know anything about it. And I know all of my friends don't know about it. So I just had this idea of like, I need to talk about what I'm doing. The first episode I ever did was so cringe. I'm pretty sure I took it down from all platforms, but it was basically like me reading questions that I didn't know. Like if they answered the questions, I wouldn't know what he was saying. So like it was a very that's not good for a dialogue when you're asking questions that you don't understand the answers to. So that was my experience at the first episode. But and this was to a hedge fund manager, but somehow I managed to salvage a couple of good clips from it. And I'll never forget this. Thanksgiving of 2021, I spent DMing literally 10,000 people of my LinkedIn connections this one clip. I DM'd every one of my 10,000 connections this clip. And eventually, I got an inbound DM from my boy, shout out to Chase Campbell, who's now at BlackRock doing crypto, big things. He was running institutional sales at Coinbase at the time. And he DM'd me and he was like, hey, love what you're doing. For the prime brokerage, I would love to meet some of your crypto hedge fund clients. And in return, I can introduce you to Coinbase's clients. This was from one clip, from one episode. That was like massively powerful experience. And so I knew this is something I have to keep doing. And I eventually landed on the right concept that was working for me. I eventually figured out how to have the conversation in a way, how to extract the content that people want, how to clip it up and chop it up and deliver it. And I've really, really, really enjoyed that process. So look out for Docs Radio Season 2 coming soon.
Docs Radio, shout out. And I love that. And it's funny, if you wait for things to be perfect, you're just never going to do it. So you got started, you put it out there. I guess you've scrubbed it from the internet now.
I probably have, but even there's plenty of cringe stuff out there. But what's cool about that is, number one, you show people you're not afraid, and they respect that, because so many people want to do it and can't get themselves to get over that hump. So kind of showing them you're not afraid. It's as authentic of a quality, as relatable of a quality as you can get. And even cooler is being able to look back and see the progression. I know how much better it is now, and it kind of just makes me laugh now in a different way than cringe, to look at wow, I would never do that. What I did.
Yeah.
I was figuring it out,
Well, and you've been really consistent, which is also, commendable. And you batch the content, you record typically at major conferences, right? Like at a offsite location, because you love to do it in person, and have gotten some great content from those, and then probably relationships too, I imagine, from some of the guests, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, everyone likes to have the light shined on them a little bit, and even if my light is not as bright as yours or some of the other bigger platforms out there, they appreciate the effort. And, to the earlier point in PR about, having that portfolio of content that people can look at when they research you. I know my guests understand that people are going to see this, when they're doing their Google searches and all that, which is cool. But yeah. There's a special relationship that kind of forms once it transforms our relationship from this transactional recruiting thing to well, now we've done other things together and that we can talk about,
Yeah. 100%. Yep.
Yeah.
How do you stay up to date with all the latest developments and trend in this sort of ever-changing industry, or do you try to?
I try not to as hard as I can, but they somehow sink in no matter what, because I talk to literally I have 9 to 15 calls every day with crypto people. So, in between the 20 minutes of, substance of what we're here to talk about, there's always 5 minutes on each side of just banter about what's going on. And I'm not the most, knowledgeable or technical or, I don't have the most original ideas of where the space is going and all that kind of stuff. But after hearing 15 people every day tell me what they think, I eventually get a pretty good idea of what's going on here. So it's helped me a lot navigate through conversations with my clients. And, I like to say, I don't need to know what you know. I don't need to know how to do your job. I need to know how to do my job very, very well. So if I ever get into a situation where I'm being grilled on my crypto knowledge, I just say, dog, that's for you. You know what I mean? Let me do what I do. That's it, and I figure out a way to get it done.
Dog.
Seriously, bro, what are we doing here? I really would say some shit like that. You know me.
I know. I do.
I really would.
I love that, because you're your authentic self. That's Dan. That's you.
They know what to expect. They know what to expect. And
and you are good at your job.
That's all that matters. They could love me, hate me, or be just disgusted by me. But if my talent is good and I get the job done, then, it's all worth it. So thankfully, I've been able to do my job well. And so people put up with me because of that.
So what are your thoughts on like, where are we in this trajectory? I mean, we go through all these market cycles. You have so many conversations. I'm curious if you have a read on where things are at right now and the sort of track to so-called mass adoption, or, are we a long time away from that in your opinion, or are things heating up this year? What's Dan's take based on the convos?
Dog, I know how to do my job. All right, let me do my job. You find someone else to give you the macro view of crypto, what's happening today. No, I mean, what I can tell you, and the funny thing is, I'm glad you asked that, because this is actually really important. Like, I do think, like, and this is advice, I'll do a quick segue. This is advice to anyone who's like going to their first conference, who maybe is not super familiar with the space, and like, like you need to be prepared, you need to know what people want to hear from you. Based on, like, for example, like when I go out, people ask me, how's the market? How's the market? How's the market? I have to have an answer to that, right? And my answer to that right now for ETH Denver, coincides with how I would answer your question, like, what's going on in the market? What can we expect? I'll say this, like, it's becoming very, very obvious what are the 3 to 5 narratives that are exciting people and driving this next cycle. And, in the last year and a half, it was tough because there was all these new projects popping up, but like no one could get excited about these projects because they didn't know what was going to win, in 2024, 2025. And now it seems like, we've identified real world assets is obviously a huge thing for, a huge thing. And we also have like DePIN is a big narrative right now. I'm seeing a lot of these like centralized/decentralized exchanges like Rhea, shout out to Simon, and Cube Exchange, shout out to Lynn from Cube, my girl. There's a lot of these kind of projects that are popping up. Also, I know you'll love this. Like, there's a lot of Bitcoin DeFi happening right now. Like, that doesn't seem to be going away. Shout out to Lorenzo Protocol, Omega, I know they're one of yours. CoreDAO. There's a bunch. I think there's one or two that I have that I'm missing, but
it feels like an arms race. It feels like an arms race for Bitcoin DeFi, honestly.
Bitcoin DeFi is happening. It's happening for sure. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
So these are the narratives and trends that I see picking up momentum for this next cycle, and don't look like they're slowing down at all.
Are there any key differentiators that you feel that you Up Top has that sort of separate you from traditional recruiters?
Yeah, you know what? There are a few. I think I've developed these really strong operating principles that, I lean on to, like I said earlier, separate me from other people, doing this kind of business. And one of those, which I think is very impactful to the community, is that it's a really strong core value of mine that we share openly information when a lot of other people, keep that private, such as like, okay, you're hiring for a business development role. Who's the client? How much does it pay? Like, this is kind of stuff that like people do this, let's go back and forth with these one-off messages here and there and exchange information. And what I like to do, and so for me, when I share information about my clients openly, it's a very calculated bet that, yes, do I know that there's other recruiters taking my information, using it as leads, going directly to my clients, trying to poach them? Do I know that there's candidates out there, going around my back and saying, ooh, Dan has a role open with Grass. Let me reach out to the founder of Grass. Yes, I know that's happening. But what I'm betting on is that I only work with smart people. You're not going to get hired at any of my clients if you're not smart. And if you're smart, you'll see the value in working with me based on my relationships than working against me. So for that reason, I've found that the ones that go around my back are usually the ones that are not going to make it. And the other agencies that are farming leads from my posts and stuff like that, you can't keep up with me, and I'm not tripping. Like, you good luck, shoot your shot. I don't want to be exclusive. Because if I'm the only recruiter that's supporting this client, then it's like I work for that client. I want to work for me. So I want my clients to have other recruiters. Y'all can go farm my leads. I'm not scared of you coming after my business. And I think really that rolls up into a greater concept that I really apply to a lot of aspects of my business, which is abundance versus scarcity. And I always think about this. I probably ranted about this on our podcast that we did in Consensus last year, but like, I never want to signal that I am protecting something, protecting my piece of the pie. No, I'm confident that our business is doing well. It's going to continue to do well. So I operate from a place of abundance. I don't need every deal. I don't need every client. I don't need every candidate, but I need to have my brand be understood in the market as one who shares information, contributes, and gives value, rather than one who holds it in tightly and is protective of it. You know what I mean?
Now you're speaking my language. The whole abundance mindset is so important. There is so much work to go around. There is so much, I just love to operate on this positive wavelength and frequency, because and not being protective of that, and just trusting that that will attract the right people, the right opportunities.
It always does, doesn't it?
As opposed to like dwelling in negative or comparison or any of that. So I completely agree.
Focus on giving. Like you focus, yes. Like in this with this specific example, I'm focusing on giving information that I know people want. I hate to sound corny, the universe will repay you for this.
Yes.
Yeah. It always does.
And it's very much in line with the ethos of Web3, of open source technology.
Exactly. And I like to think that, that's a good point. And it is really a conscious decision for me to have my operating principle. It's actually not a conscious decision. It's a coincidence. It's the best coincidence ever that my own operating principles naturally tend to align very well with the operating principles that drive, the space. Just taking it back to the first question you asked me, how did I get interested in the space? Meeting people who had that same, innate quality of taking what I did in the past life, remixing it with Web3 and blockchain ideology and technology, and doing it the logical way in Web3. That's like a subconscious way. We don't have that conversation, me and my clients. We don't say that out loud, but you can feel it in the way that we operate. You can just tell. And that's kind of like the quality. I mean, to tie this whole conversation up together, what's the quality that people need to have in Web3? They need to operate on the same principles that everyone else here operates on. Mm-hmm. That's it. Everything else will fall into place, Yeah,
love that.
Glad we did this.
Well, Dan, this has been such a great conversation. I'm so grateful that you took the time to chat with me today. And are there any closing thoughts or resources that you want to share for listeners?
Closing thoughts. Just thank you. Just thank you to everyone. Like anyone who watches this video, you're watching this because you care about crypto and you're paying attention to Web3. You're part of our community. And I've developed this persona, for better or worse, online that may be a little like arrogant, like flexing here and there a little bit too much. And I'm trying to tone that down a little bit. But for anyone who really knows me in person, has met me, that I'm grateful and humbled to have this experience and opportunity. I have so much respect for the clients who I really look up to and are doing such incredibly innovative and cool stuff, and have let me be a part of that. It's an honor, truly. And the clients who trust me, the candidates who trust me to give them guidance and advice, I really love that they come to me, as a trusted advisor and not just, a transactional recruiter. And I'm just very grateful that they opened up to having that relationship with me. And it's obviously changed my life. And I'm just very grateful. So thank you to everyone who's given me a chance.
That's amazing. And I will say, Dan, you are an incredible resource. You and your team are always willing to hop on the phone with anyone who's either looking to enter Web3 as a candidate, or maybe recently, or is looking to make a pivot. You're always happy to have those types of conversations, which is just, I feel like that's you giving back to this community and giving everybody a chance, which, I really appreciate about how you run your business as well.
Thank you, Kelley. Thank you. I'm grateful and appreciate the love and the opportunity here.
Awesome. Well, everyone go check out Docs Radio. We'll drop all the links. And thank you again, Dan.
Thank you. Salute. Stay up.
Thanks for tuning in to Proof of PR. This episode was brought to you by Melrose PR, a leading provider of communications and PR strategy for Bitcoin and Web3 innovators. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen today. To stay up to date on upcoming guests and news, visit proofofpr.com or follow us on Twitter at proofofpr. Until next time, keep learning, innovating, and hodling.